Good evening. I'd like to call the Park and Recreation Board for Tuesday, August 18th, 2020 to order. Roll call, please.
I'm Mark Williams.
Here.
Mark Festonia.
Here.
Deborah Lundberg. Justin Miner.
Here.
Aideen Hess.
Here.
Chris Serbel.
Here.
JC Dansman.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, with liberty and justice for all.
A little bit of a delay there. Like 3 different versions.
Wonderful. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Number 5, comments from the public. Yes, sir. Name and address, please. Oh,
If you would back up, then I could take my mask off. If you would sit where I was.
I gotta go down the end.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just for this 2 seconds. Thanks. Thank you. Mr. Malberg agreed to move a little bit so I could take my mask off, otherwise it's difficult to hear. My name is Ken Bukowski, 2570 Clive Street. Thank you for the opportunity to appear. I'm here because of a item that was on your agenda in July concerning some correspondence I sent to Chairman Williams. And I was not notified that that item would be on that agenda. And I was disappointed when I subsequently found out that it had been decided at that agenda, on that agenda at that meeting. So I went back, I looked at that agenda, and first of all, it said no written communications. Well, I don't know how that could have been true, because on June 22nd, I sent a written communication to Chairman Williams.
It was in the packet.
But secondly, the item was put on the agenda, and I was not notified of that, which in my experience on the village board is unusual. So I'm asking that this board reconsider, not at this meeting obviously because it's not on the agenda, but I would ask that this board reconsider and give me a chance to come in and explain why I sent that correspondence to Chairman Williams back on June 22nd. That's all I'm asking. And if someone would move to reconsider that, or you just put it on the agenda for September, that would be greatly appreciated. If you decide not to, that's obviously your choice. So I thank you for listening.
Okay. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Rex.
Do we have any written communication? We have several here, I believe.
They're in the packet.
They're all in the packet. Everybody get a chance to read them? Do you want me to read them?
This is Jason. Can I go back? So what just transpired? Are we going to put them on the agenda for September? Or what is, do we make that decision now? I mean, I guess I moved to put them on the agenda for September.
I think we
And
can
I
discuss it.
completely support that. So I just-
We can't discuss it right now. When we get down to next agenda items, we can talk about it then if we want to put it on there. But,
Okay.
But when the public comes in and it's not on the agenda, we can't really discuss it much, so.
Okay. Okay, didn't know how that worked. Thank you.
Yep. Everybody got a copy of the written communications as part of the packet. You got several of them from, thank you from the Framboys and Bill and Kathy Orgman, and another one from Eagle Scout Brady.
Brady Pier, yes. Brady did an Eagle Scout project for us last fall, and he officially has gone through the process now that COVID's done and they can have their scout meetings again. And so he officially has received his Eagle Scout honor with the project that he did, building a additional benches and a handicapped garden box for our community garden area.
Okay. Can we get a motion to receive and place these on file, please?
So
Motion to receive and place them on file.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Yep. And Mark, just, I know you mentioned that we did receive the thank yous. They were in regards to us being able to offer our concerts in the park series on Wednesday afternoons. We received a lot of comments from a lot of, verbal comments from a lot of folks that were happy that we were still able to offer those. So just as a clarification of what the thank yous were for.
Okay. Number 7, action on consent agenda that includes the Park and Rec Board regular meeting from July 21st and the Park, Rec, and Forestry August expenditures. Anybody have
Make a
any-
motion to accept.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on anything?
do we need to, wasn't there an amendment to the minutes? Do we need to,
Well, they have been
Approve it.
corrected, and they are corrected in the agenda, so
Okay,
I
so
believe
we
the
don't have to-
motion, right, I think
Okay.
we've covered it.
okay.
Okay. Got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. 8, action items, discussion and possible action on marina pier repairs. Rex.
All right, this is at the Ashwaubenon Marina, which is behind like the old Fratello's area. So we've got 2 piers out there, a north pier and a south pier. Both are L-shaped piers. Both of those piers are the responsibility and ownership falls on the village of Ashwaubenon. The docks that come off of those piers are the responsibility of the marina owner, just so there's a clarification of whose piers they are. They are the village's piers to clean and maintain and do what's necessary moving forward, whatever is decided there. So what's wound up happening, obviously everyone knows that we've had a lot of high water the last couple of years. It's continuing to get higher. With the high water, especially if there's a northern wind that pushes the water back into the bay and up the Fox, the water literally can go over the top of the piers, which was kind of unheard of. I mean, it's past the ordinary high water mark, you know, which they were built for. Unfortunately, what has happened is with a number of those events happening, and then we had a especially bad one in late April, is the water has undermined. See, you've got a concrete pier. The concrete on those piers is poured over large rocks, large riprap that has been put down. The riprap was put down, it was filled with smaller riprap, smaller gravel material, and then compacted, and then concrete was poured over the top of that. And that's what makes the pier. With all of the wave action and the high water, the water has undermined some of the riprap on the bulb end of each pier. As you look down at the pier, you can actually see the gravel coming out from the wave action. And so I don't know how much has come out. You know, obviously you can't see into that water very clearly. But obviously enough has come out, because what's wound up happening is on the north end there are cracks on where the bulb is, and on the southern pier the whole bulb on the end is actually shifted downward, which means enough material has come out to create a void underneath that concrete, and the concrete is basically snapped, where that end of the bulb now is at an angle. And we've got that end of the pier closed off right now, so the general public can't go out to the very end. And it's, again, it's just the very end, it's the ball portion of that, you know, pier, which you can see on some of the photos in your agenda packet. So what do we do about that? On top of that, there are also some lighting issues immediately north of Manso Flats. There was a number of footings that were poured for the Ashwaubenon River Trail lighting due to the high water once again. And the wave action being up against the shores, it has shifted the footings for those lights where the lights are now at are literally at an angle. And you can see those in some of the pictures as well in your packet. So when those were discovered, when those cracks in the end of the pier shifting was discovered after that April storm, the really bad one, we contacted AECom. AECom had a hand in building the original piers back in, well, I'm going to guess they were probably built somewhere between 2000 and 2005, 2004, somewhere around there. And so they kind of did an analysis of them. Village board approved them to come in and get some price quotes. We paid them to get some price quotes and some costing estimates, which is what you have their report in front of you today. So if we're to repair the piers to number one, strengthen the northern pier so that it doesn't crack the bulb on the end and start to dip down further into the water, or if we're to repair the southern pier, which has already done that and may continue to do that and get worse, that's what our concern is. And obviously there's a safety factor there too. Because all of the tiling, the Ashwaubenon A and the tiling that was all there, that was all cracked and spread apart. So we basically took that part out of the end of the pier and just put gravel in, just so there wouldn't be trip hazards and whatnot in case people tried to cross the tape or the barrier that we've got there. So there's a couple different options on repairing those piers. You know, we looked at mud jacking, we looked at just taking the pier concrete balls out and just putting riprap on the end of them, like a big thing of riprap without the concrete circle there anymore. And then we looked at taking the concrete out, re-riprapping it, putting heavier riprap in, more riprap around the exterior, and then reconcreting the end of the southern pier, or a combination thereof. And that's what some of the information is here in the report. I'll just get down to the chase. My recommendation is twofold with the end of the pier. I mean, a lot of people do use those piers.
They do?
They do. We are building Manso Flats right now, or Manso Flats was just built. We've got Alden Station that's being built that will have that, hopefully, pedestrian bridge going into Ashwaubenon, and those are hundreds of people that will be now living along the riverfront. We've got a new, I believe it's business development that Mr. Gerbers is building right next to Manso Flats, multi-story building. Bay Harbor Condominiums continues to build. I think that's almost built out right now. So there's a lot of things going down right there. And part of the selling point of that is the trail and the pier and the future bridge. And there's a lot of people, that will be a selling point, you know, for, I think, the village's long-range plans for how they would like to see that waterfront develop along Broadway there. So with that being said,
Rex?
I'm sorry.
Rex, I've got a question.
Yep.
Any idea what the depth of the water is around the riprap in the location of those bulbs?
You know, AECom told me when we first met out there in early May, Dean, and I don't remember what that was. I don't remember what that
The
was.
only thing I'm wondering is if that riprap goes out far enough to compensate for erosion and also increase currents due to potential future high water.
Yep.
You know, to reduce any erosion further in. I think if you put riprap further out, that'll help to compensate for some of that. I don't know. Maybe there's not enough riprap to even start with.
Yeah, you know, like I said, in one or two of these pictures, you can see, I mean, the water's fairly high up onto the riprap. When I first started with the village in 2005, I mean, there was at least a couple feet of riprap visible. So the water has definitely played a role in it. And like I said, the average water height right now is much higher than what the average, what it was expected to be. So I don't disagree with you, and I think AECom is saying that as well as one of the options to do is to put extra and reinforced riprap around that area to stop that erosion from happening due to the high water.
Right, okay. Because I know I was looking into doing riprapping, and it was recommended for every foot in height, you need to go out about 3 to 4 feet in distance for every foot in height. So that's why I was wondering how deep that water was.
One of the things, or I guess I'll cut to the chase here on my recommendations, and I don't know if they're the right recommendations or not. I'm not a expert on it. I mean, I'm taking the advice of AECom, who is the company that's, we paid to do the recommendations for us, based on their knowledge and experience with these type of things. As such, what our department recommendation is to the park board is on the northern pier, at the very least. Well, first off, our first recommendation is to totally redo the piers. That's the way they were initially designed, and then when we if the piers are both totally redone, to reinforce with additional riprap around the exterior of those bulbs. And then straighten the lights out, of course, over by Manso Flats, which I don't know if we need to pour new footings on those or just straighten those out. But that being said, and then on the southern pier, just due to the fact that has already cracked, obviously is to totally redo that as well. That's the main one that really gets hammered the most, I would say, from a northerly wind or squall that comes in up the Fox. That would be my first recommendation. Second recommendation, if the first one isn't palatable, if there's second thoughts on that, is to try mud jacking the northern pier. Since that one hasn't broken down yet, the thought is, can we inject a filler underneath that concrete that will stabilize that concrete so it isn't predisposed to cracking in the future. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know. I don't think they use mud because obviously I think they can inject foam and different type of things underneath there.
Usually what it is, yeah.
To stabilize that. And I'm assuming that holds up well, with water type conditions. And certainly that's a little bit less costly of an item, trying that out. So option number 2 would be to do that mud jacking with the foam underneath the northern pier to stabilize that so it does not crack. But then on the southern pier still tear that one apart and redo the ball, because that one has cracked. We have to do something with that one. The mud jacking is not going to fix it. So regardless, you need to take that old concrete out, and you either need to say, you know what, we're just going to put stones in there and have a big ball of stone at the end of the pier, or we're going to put new riprap down or more riprap down, recompact it, re-pour the concrete, and put an extra layer of riprap around it, as Mr. Hess was saying, for additional protection on the pier itself. So those are my 2 options that I'm recommending. Option A would be to redo both of them with new concrete. Option B would be to mud jack the northern pier and redo the southern pier with new concrete. I've talked with administration, with Mary, and Tony somewhat, and they feel comfortable that there's the possibility of using TIF 3 funds to redo those, because they do attract people to the area. They are a tourist attraction. People use them when they're visiting the area, just to go out on walks and being part of the new bike trail and so on and so forth. So it could potentially be eligible for that. I think there's that comfort level of doing so. So if we go ahead with either of those options, it would be using TIF dollars to do that.
Well, I can tell you that, I mean, if you're just replacing it with stone, And it's, roughly $4,000 more to do it by putting concrete on there. I mean, and you can walk out there.
Okay, now?
I don't
Thank you.
have as much a problem with it, but something has to be done with it, I guess. So,
And the other question that I would have is if we're looking at mud jacking and using some sort of foam, is there environmental concerns because it's the river with using that foam or whatever material they use?
That's a good question, Justin. Again, I'm deferring to AECom that made the recommendation on the repairs, that they've done enough work along the riverfront and along lakes or rivers that they're comfortable with the product that's going to be used. I'm sure there would be permits and DNR oversight on the project because it is involving a pier on the water. So I know they wouldn't allow anything to move forward without it being environmentally acceptable to their standards.
So Rex, alternate C for both piers, if we did the concrete and everything, you got 45,566. That does not include the estimating engineering fee of $9,000 on that as well. That would include the bid documents and everything else for doing this?
Correct. The 45,556 is for the piers itself. And then the estimated engineering fee is below that, somewhere between $7,000 and $9,000 based on what alternate is chosen.
So in AECom's letter to us, basically, and everything, it says, that you got highlighted on the second or third page back, bid documents and bidding that says 15 to 20% of estimated construction costs. Is that in that $9,000, or is that
That's what that is.
Okay.
Based on the estimated cost, and again, we haven't gotten bids yet. They're only estimating what those costs are. So based on each estimated cost, that is the $9,100 and the $7,031 is the 20% of those costs.
So it's roughly
54 or
$55,000 roughly
Right.
if we approve that to go forward to village board as a bid amount, we'd be okay with it.
correct. I mean, and again, it's estimated, and if we were to proceed, then we would work with AECom, or I would work with AECom on making out a bid packet and get that out and get some construction costs back in. Obviously, with the time frame this year, my recommendation would be to have this done in 2021. That way they could get it on their schedule whenever it's possible for them to get it on their schedule. If you try and do something this year with the remaining time that's left, the costs are going to be astronomical because, people are trying to get jobs done already. So this would be, if we move forward on this, we're probably looking at a 2021 fix.
Does everybody have any questions on this or more comments at all?
Personally, I would hate to see us replace them with just some kind of rock out there. The mud jacking, it'd save you a few dollars, but we don't know if that's gonna wash away. I mean, just my little experience with mud jacking at my home, it does wash away. Personally, I'd like to see both piers back to where they were. I think Rex made some,
And I would also like to reemphasize the fact that there'd be a good, sufficient foundation, because I've had an erosion factor this year, and I'm looking at a $15,000 job to have additional riprapping, and I'm going to make darn sure it goes out a lot further, so I got a good foundation. It's really important.
And Dean, that's something that if the park board and subsequently village board directs me to do, then we would work with the AECom to make sure that, let's just say that at the very least, it's spelled out that way, that to make sure it's beefed up quite a bit, either in the initial bid or have an alternate bid of what it would cost for even further additional riprap around the bulbs. And then the village board could decide exactly how they want it to proceed.
It's not going anywhere, though? I mean, it's staying there, it's not gonna go away, right?
Correct.
Okay, so my question is, it's gonna sound kind of crazy maybe, but we don't have any other projects of higher priority, do we? You know, if we're prioritizing and having budget shortfalls and everything, I want to make sure that we consider that, I guess, when doing this, or if we're going to do it.
Sure. So,
Yeah, and I guess it was like the safety factor of it as well.
so I would say typically with the, it's all going to depend on where the money is coming from. If it comes out of TIF, TIF money is there, and TIF money needs to be used. I mean, that's what it's there for before TIF is closed out. I mean,
I know.
kind of know that on. So then the question is, what other projects are there potentially to use TIF money for, and how does that stack up?
Right. Mary, do you have something?
I was just going to say that, I did talk to Rex, I talked to Greg about, we would probably use TIF 3 money for this. I don't know that this is something that could be completed if it isn't in TIF, just because of the way the budgets are going to be. So, but I'm pretty sure that it will be a TIF 3 project, so.
The other big thing in TIF 3 coming up is going to be the pedestrian bridge going from Alden Station into Ashwaubenon. That would need to come out of, that's going to be, hopefully we'll get a grant or two on that as well, but that, a good portion of that's going to be funded out of TIF 3 also.
Okay. Do we have a motion that we want to recommend to the village board that we go forward with on here?
I'll make a motion that we recommend option C for both the north and south areas. Make that recommendation to the village board.
I'll second.
Just a clarification, that includes the engineering fees as well of $9,113 roughly?
We'll also get,
Correct.
when this officially goes out to bid, we'll also get price quotes to straighten those 3 or 4 pathway lights that are tilting as well.
Okay.
I think that'll, in the grand scheme of things, that'll be a
Is
minimum.
that okay with the motion with the, for the lighting as well, to put that in the motion along with that?
Right. Correct.
Chris?
Yes, yep.
Okay. So we got a motion and a second to move forward to village board option C for both north and south piers, along with engineering fees and the light posts straightened out. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes.
Any nays?
Nays? Sorry.
Sorry. Want to make sure we capture everybody.
Okay, thank you very much. More I want to know about riprap and everything ever before. Right? We'll go on to 8B, Park and Rec Forestry Department report.
All right, well, a couple of good things going on. They are plugging away quite heartily here on the Ashwaubenon Sports Complex Plaza and pass-through between the 2 parking lots. They have installed retaining walls. I'd probably say 2/3 of the ramp has been poured already from the top of the building going down. They're working on the pass-through, laying everything out before the final amount of concrete is poured on the actual ramp portion of it. So we're continuing on that. That seems to be going well. Feel free to go out and take a look at it. There's a lot of action going on out there. It's kind of fun to watch. Also, an item that was on a former agenda or past agenda, the Ashwaubenon Park sign. The base was poured. Electrical has been run. It's not hooked up yet, but it's been run, bored underneath the roadway from the power box. And the stonework for the sign has been put up. So if you're driving by Ashwaubenon Park, you're going to get somewhat of an idea of what the new sign's going to look like. They still have to put up the LED board. The piece of the metal framing that you see coming out of the rock is what will hold the two-sided LED board on there. And then the log that goes on top will go on as well, and that'll really set it off nice. So that is continuing to work as well. Kind of got two birds with one stone here. Hidden Valley Trail System, if you're familiar with Hidden Valley, there's a section of trail where it starts on Skylark, goes into the woods for a while and makes a loop around. And we added an extra section of trail just connecting, so you don't have to go into the woods, because a lot of people go one way and then they come back the same way, and sometimes it's dark, they might not want to go into the woods. So we dug out a section of trail. We only dug down 4 inches. We put down stone fabric and then put crusher dust on top of that. So we made a nice section, about 120 yards of trail right there. The dirt that we took off of that section of trail, rather than purchase it fully to redo that section at Ashwaubenon, where we're trying in front, if you know the volunteer day where they cut down all those invasives. Well, typically right there along Ashwaubenon Creek, or Ashwaubenon Creek, that needs to be filled in with dirt. And so we used all of that dirt that we dug up and just transported ourselves using some of the public works vehicles and brought that right over to Ashwaubenon. So we got kind of 2 projects at one thing. We filled in quite a bit of dirt that we needed to at Ashwaubenon Park where that work was done, and then we were able to get that nice section of trail in, and I've already gotten a couple people commenting on it that they appreciate that happening, so they don't have to go through the woods area at night in case they're going on a night walk. I'm going to say within a couple of days we'll be sending the fall winter village services brochure to the printer. David's been working hard trying to work on programming what we're able to offer for the fall and winter, you know, with COVID obviously still around, and how we're going to offer it and in what form or fashion, whether it be small groups of 10, whether it be larger groups spread out, whether it be virtual programming, and it's a little combination of everything. For instance, as long as the schools don't shut down due to a COVID outbreak, the Christmas party, the senior Christmas party, will still be taking place. We'll have, you know, we'll only allow, you know, 4 people at a table, you know, as an example. But the Ashwaubenon Show Choir will be performing virtually on the screens. We've got the ability to do that. So rather than being there in person, which I know the school district would have concerns with, they'll actually be performing at the high school, but it'll be taped and shown in the community center. You know, so kind of live action type of a thing. So that's, you know, just stuff like that, trying to work things out and seeing what can happen. Playground program came to a close today. Today was the last day for it. Day camp is moved back over to the community center from Valley View. It worked out real well at Valley View. We appreciate the school district letting us use the gymnasium there. We think we did a good job. We didn't have any reported incidences or problems or infections or anything like that. We did a lot of cleaning. We spent a lot of time outside with the kids, and it worked out well. They're doing cleaning and prepping for the school year right now, so the last week of operation we moved them back into the community center, and that's been working well. Aquatics, we've been using our community pool since early July. It's interesting, a lot of the swim exercise programs and the swim fit training, swim team practices, swim club practices are going very well. Gangbusters, actually. Our lesson program is obviously down. We do not, or cannot, with the younger age group, teach the same way that we used to be able to teach with COVID, you know, where you're almost face-to-face with the kids and you're hugging them and you're trying to get them at ease in the water. That needs to be done with a parent now for tiny tots and then level 1 and level 2. And because of that, as we expected, because not every parent is comfortable to go into the water. So those numbers are down somewhat, but we still have some classes being offered and people taking advantage of those. And then we're in contact with the school district and working out a schedule for the fall season coming up, because the swim teams will be in there, you know, on top of our programming. So we're trying not to, we will not be having programming going on in the same pool as swim team practices. So we're just working out scheduling and trying to see what we can do for the winter fall season still. Literally changes every day. I know everyone's heard that before, but that's no different than what we're working with right now. Forestry, Tim's been busy. You'll see a lot of pink dots on a lot of trees that are out there. Tim is working on the bid specifications to get out to the different tree companies. Those will probably go out, I'm guessing, in October and come to Park Board and Village Board in November, is my guess. That's our goal anyway. And that is for the ash tree removals, the preemptive ash tree removals, of which there are over 1,000 of them to do. They're all going to die. So if people aren't going to treat them, we want to take them down while we can, where it's easier to take them down. It's much easier to take them down when they are alive versus when they are dead. Once they're dead, they literally blow apart when branches and limbs and trunks hit the ground. And it's a nightmare for cleanup. So if people are willing to treat the trees, they have been contacting Tim, filling out a form, and we will be leaving those trees alone. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of trees taken down starting this winter around the village. One good thing that is happening is Tim's been working with representatives from FOTH. They've got a couple of fish crib projects similar to what we did on the north end of Ashwaubenon Park. They're going to be building them up or down the river a little bit more, excuse me, towards the old, I always call it Fort Howard, Procter & Gamble. But they're going to be building some fish cribs as part of the Natural Resource Damage Assessment and the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. The paper companies are actually doing these. And they need trees to build the fish cribs. So both is contracting with Brennan, who's now done doing the dredging of the river. Since Brennan has their barges and everything there, they're going to be cutting down 70 ash trees in Ashwaubenon Park, felling them into the river and literally floating them down the river for them to use as the fish cribs. So that's 70 less trees we have to worry about. So we're like, absolutely, we'll work with you on that. So that, you know, you'll see a lot of orange dots on trees in Ashwaubenon as well, and that's what they're going to be used for. So we're happy about that. That's less work for us, so, and it's going to a good cause. You know, there's a lot of things on the Park and Rec report. Does anyone have any questions or comments on anything that's in there of any programming or park maintenance type activities or things that are shown that you'd like more information on?
Yeah, Rex, I think the Press Gazette recently had an article this past week on pickleball, the explosion of pickleball.
Yep.
And I know we have pickleball courts at Fort Howard.
Best in Green Bay.
Thank you. And are those occupied
Constantly.
constantly?
It's kind of like one of their summer headquarters for the Packerland pickleball players,
Yeah.
because we've got a bank of 6. Chris, if I could have, you know, if I had a time machine, and I remember people kind of looked at me quizzically when I said we're building 6. If I could have 12 of them, I would have built 12. I mean, they are that popular. It's kind of crazy how many people, and it's such a social sport where it's like one big community almost.
Right.
The people who are playing, once they get into it. And they like to play and watch other people play, and they literally make an afternoon out of it.
Right.
And so our bank of 6 courts are constantly busy.
And my guess is it's the more mature, I don't want to say old, because I'm probably in that category.
You know, it spans the age spectrum, but if you were to find a mean age, it's probably somewhere between 45, maybe 40 to 65.
Yeah. And the reason I bring it up is, I know
Yeah.
going forward, and big topic in the village is always, housing for retirement, things like that.
Yep.
And it might be, I just want to make sure that's kind of on our minds a little bit. I know we talked about it in the past, and it costs money and time and effort, and you take away from some of the other tennis courts that are used if you want to use tennis courts. But I just want to make sure maybe with everything packaged with Ashwaubenon and for the whole community, that maybe we just keep an eye on that.
That absolutely. I mean, I don't disagree with you. I mean, it's, you know, we've got our big banks of tennis courts, you know, at the sports complex and at Pioneer, which the high school uses because it is a bank of 7 and a bank of 7. But we've got other courts. We've got 2 at Canterbury and we've got 2 at Smith Park. You know, and those can always be looked at for repurposing. I know a lot of people don't like to have multiple lines. And you can put 2 pickleball courts on 1 tennis court, but then you have to have portable standards and things like that. You really
Right.
can't put other standards in because then it affects the tennis play. So there's things you can do. I mean, it really just depends on what the community is asking for. They're asking to, I guess, remove a tennis court and put in pickleball courts. I mean, it's something that can be looked at. It's a little bit more of a challenge because our tennis courts are all one way. So you've got tennis one way, and then next to it you have pickleball going the opposite direction. You know what I mean? Where the balls would be
Yeah.
going into the tennis court. So then we'd have to put in additional fencing to keep that from happening. But it's certainly doable.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, at either Smith or Canterbury.
Like I said, I just brought it up because I know there's cost and work if you want to, you know, we've talked about it in the past, but just as we, as a village, you know, try to navigate through, you know, our senior housing, things like that.
Sure.
I just want to make sure it's it's somewhere in the mix.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Comments? Okay. We'll move on to, thanks, Rex.
Yep.
Number 9, items for next agenda. This is where Mr. Bukowski was here before, if we want to look at that again, the next meeting.
I think that would be the right thing to do.
I agree.
What, I couldn't hear, what was that?
They think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, that was my thought too, is we want to do the right thing, and he did send written communication, right?
Yes.
He did, and I thought, Mark, that you had mentioned that at the last park board meeting, that
Oh, yeah, no, it was in there, I know.
it was in there, so
Yeah.
it was in your packet, so I mean, should have been aware of it, I believe.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, if we want
the
to bring it
direction,
up.
yeah, and the direction to me, I need to say this, was to put it on the next park board agenda, which we did,
Right.
as instructed, when Mr. Bukowski, you know, as a trustee did that. So I don't know how he did not know about it, but obviously he's saying he didn't. So my whole point is, my stance is not going to change on it, and I thought I was fairly clear on this the last time, but I mean, we've done our research, we've done our background searches on how other municipalities, as well as private banquet facilities, what they charge, how they charge. And we feel comfortable where we are at right now as a staff, and also with the,
Well, let's put it, I mean,
Yep.
if there's, we're having a discussion on it right now, so I think we should put it on the next board meeting, because a
okay,
couple board members have asked for it, so,
yep.
Yeah.
and we can hash it over, and I know what your stance is, Rex, and I sort of agree with you, but when they ask for it, we gotta do it, so.
Well, I agree with what you're saying, Rex. You know, we voted on it before, and I agree with you. But to do it, you know, if he feel,
Not a problem.
Yeah.
I will, basically what we'll do is just take the same agenda item and
That's fine.
make a new one for the September agenda.
If it's the only thing on the agenda, I mean, we can postpone it until October or something. I don't want that the only thing on the agenda, though. The next board
Right.
meeting, next one we have.
Great.
Probably for the October agenda, we'll have more of the budget that was submitted, so we'll be able to talk about what has been submitted, or
Okay.
what's being submitted for the budget as well. That'll be definitely in October. So maybe, I mean, we'll see what happens in September, but
Right, right. Okay, is there anything else that we need to bring up yet? You want to see?
Do we need a motion? We don't need a
If-
motion for that.
No, no. If not, need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
second.
We got a motion second, all in favor, please say aye.
Right?
Aye.
Opposed?